If you follow the market at all, you know that the telehealth sector, well, it's been a pretty volatile place, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of those high-growth startups, they kind of struggled to deliver profitability after that big pandemic surge.
Hmm.
But there is one player, HIMS and Hers Health Inc., that's HIM on the ticker, that's managed a really dramatic and successful transition.
Yeah, they really stand out.
They've gone from being, that high-burn growth story to something much more, well, financially concrete.
Solid. Yeah.
So the question we're diving into today is, how exactly did HIMS pull off this massive financial flip? What was the specific growth catalyst that pushed it? And importantly, what are the operational dangers kind of lurking alongside their explosive success?
It really is a phenomenal case study. I mean, how to scale a modern consumer-facing healthcare business. Their stated mission is pretty succinct: to help the world feel great through the power of better health.
Simple enough.
But what's truly compelling is the speed, the sheer volume of their recent financial metrics. Just look at the scale. Total revenue, it grew from about $527 million in 2022
Okay.
to a staggering $1.47 billion almost by the end of 2024.
Wow, that's nearly tripling revenue in just 2 years. That kind of speed suggests they've really hit some kind of inflection point in market adoption, right?
Absolutely. And if we zoom in on their core engine, the online business, that online revenue specifically saw a 71% year-over-year increase just from 2023.
71%.
Yeah, hitting almost $1.44 billion in 2024. And at the same time, their subscriber base just ballooned by a massive 45%. They reached about 2.2 million customers by the end of December 2024.
So this isn't just small steps. This is like significant market share gain. They're solving real problems for consumers.
Exactly. It's not just incremental growth.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. A 45% jump in subscribers, 71% in online revenue. That suggests they're offering something really sticky. So what defines their core business model? What makes them different from, say, other generic telehealth platforms out there?
Well, their differentiation really rests on four strategic pillars. They focus on a trusted brand, innovative products and services, leading technology, and clinical excellence.
Okay.
But the real game changer, I think, especially early on, was that customer value proposition. It was tied so strongly to convenience and, importantly, stigma reduction.
That makes sense. I remember they initially focused on conditions maybe people find awkward or, difficult to discuss in a traditional doctor's office. Things like sexual health, mental health, even hair loss. They kind of removed that immediate barrier.
Precisely. And their own source material notes this: a significant majority of their first-time customers say they sought treatment for their conditions for the first time ever through the HIMS and Hers platform.
Really? That's a powerful statistic.
It is. By reducing that stigma and the access barriers, you just need a phone or a laptop. They fundamentally expand the whole market opportunity. They're attracting a demographic that was basically untapped before.
And I imagine their technology plays a pretty big part in making that a smooth, low-friction experience. It's got to be more than just a nice website, right?
Oh, definitely. It's an integrated tech ecosystem, really designed for precision. They use proprietary algorithms and a deeply integrated tech stack. The goal is a streamlined, personalized experience for both the patient and the clinician.
Okay.
And this integrated approach, it allows for seamless, precise, and sort of highly programmatic follow-up care that ensures customers stick around.
Right, retention.
And currently, they've established really strong market share across those foundational areas: sexual health, dermatology, and mental health.
So the platform removes barriers, the tech delivers personalized care, and crucially for the business model, that whole engine runs on a predictable revenue stream.
It absolutely does. And this is key to their financial stability. The vast majority of their revenue comes from customers buying subscription-based prescription products and services.
The subscription model.
That recurring, reliable monthly revenue, it provides tremendous stability and predictability. That's a huge advantage, especially when you look at the competition in the telehealth space, which can be more transactional.
Right. Speaking of stability, let's get to the big financial news that really defines HIMS right now. That dramatic flip, going from being a heavy, growth-focused loss leader to, well, a genuinely profitable company.
Yeah, this is the kind of financial inflection point that analysts love to see. Back in 2023, the company was still reporting a consolidated net loss of about $23.5 million.
Okay, still in the red then.
But then a dramatic shift. For the year ended December 31st, 2024, they totally turned it around, reporting net income of $126 million.
Wow, that's a what, $150 million swing into the green in just 1 year?
It's huge.
A shift that big makes you ask, where exactly do they find that leverage? Was it just cutting costs, or was it volume driving better margins?
It seems to be primarily volume, driven by high margin expansion. And this operational health, it's backed up by cash generation too. If you connect this to the broader financials, the company achieved strong positive cash flows from operating activities, about $251 million in 2024.
Okay, so the model works. It's self-sustaining, throwing off real cash.
Exactly. It confirms the business model is highly functional and generating significant cash flow.
And we know the obvious growth catalyst that really accelerated things in 2024. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't talk about modern healthcare without mentioning the huge demand for weight loss treatments.
That is precisely the driver. The financial acceleration in 2024 was primarily driven by launching and then rapidly expanding their weight loss offerings. That started late 2023 and really scaled up throughout 2024.
So it proved the brand could stretch.
It really did. It proved they could successfully extend that reputation for sensitive, convenient care into a massive and obviously high-demand new market segment.
And this expansion wasn't just about, writing prescriptions. It needed some strategic moves, like vertical integration.
Yeah.
Which brings us to that acquisition they made to control their supply chain, right?
That's right. It showed a clear strategic intent to go beyond just the telehealth consult. In September 2024, HIMS acquired MediSourcer X. That's a 503B compounding outsourcing facility.
Okay.
They paid about $31 million for it, half cash, half stock.
So for our listener, what does buying a 503B facility strategically mean for a company like HIMS? They used to just connect patients to existing pharmacies.
Yeah, think of it like bringing the pharmaceutical kitchen in-house. A 503B facility is a specific type of registered place that can make large batches of compounded drugs, both sterile and non-sterile, under pretty strict quality rules.
Okay, so control.
Exactly. Strategically, this isn't just about reducing risk. It's about trying to lock in a competitive advantage. By controlling the manufacturing, HIMS can potentially shield itself from, margin pressure that competitors face if they rely on third-party compounders.
Right, they own the means of production, essentially.
And it gives them more flexibility and control over the actual formulations of their weight loss products.
That kind of vertical integration takes capital. But you mentioned the cash flow. They clearly have enough liquidity.
They seem to. As of December 31st, 2024, they held about $220 million in cash and equivalents, plus nearly $80 million in short-term investments.
So a decent cushion.
Yeah, management stated they believe their existing cash is sufficient for the next year, which is important because, as they point out themselves, this kind of rapid growth and structural change puts a significant strain on their whole infrastructure, admin, financial, operational.
Okay, let's pivot now to maybe the defensive side of this story. Because shifting towards vertical integration, offering these complex high-demand meds, it throws up some serious structural and regulatory hurdles. Every investor really needs to understand these.
Definitely. And the first, maybe the most foundational risk involves the legal structure they have to maintain because of something called the corporate practice of medicine doctrine.
Right, the CPM rules.
Exactly. HIMS, the tech platform itself, does not actually employ the doctors or nurse practitioners on their platform. Instead, the clinical services are exclusively provided by what they call affiliated medical groups, or AMGs.
Okay, why is that separation needed? And why is it a constant risk?
Well, think of it this way. HIMS is the smart tech wrapper, right? The
Yeah.
marketing engine. But legally, they cannot tell a doctor what to prescribe or how to practice medicine.
Got it. Hands off the clinical decisions.
The doctors work for these separate AMGs. This whole structure is designed specifically to comply with various state laws that restrict non-licensed entities, like a tech company, from influencing a physician's professional judgment.
So they have to maintain this legal wall.
A wall between the platform and the actual clinical decision-making. It's necessary for compliance, but it's constantly scrutinized. Laws vary state by state and are always evolving. Maintaining that arm's length relationship is absolutely essential, but it's not guaranteed.
And buying that 503B facility, that compounding pharmacy, it completely changes their regulatory profile almost overnight, doesn't it? They went from being a tech intermediary to being a full-fledged manufacturer. That brings huge new liability.
Exactly right. That acquisition immediately subjects HIMS to entirely new sets of regulatory requirements, particularly from the FDA. On the manufacturing side, they now have to comply with very strict regulations called CGMP.
CGMP, Current Good Manufacturing
That's the
Practice.
one. This is a massive compliance shift for them.
And what does CGMP compliance mean in practical terms? Like, what do they actually have to do now?
It means intense quality control, basically. They're now handling the active pharmaceutical ingredients, the API, the raw drug components that go into the final compounded meds. The FDA expects really high-level, verifiable quality assurance processes, clean room standards, meticulous record keeping. It's a whole different ballgame. They've gone from being the slick app and delivery service to now having to, metaphorically wear a clean room suit and deal with the highly regulated, often expensive details of making pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, that's a big jump. And we absolutely have to address the major risk tied to their biggest growth driver, the supply chain vulnerability for these weight loss drugs, especially the GLP-1s.
Yes, this is a major ongoing concern detailed right in their disclosures, while they do offer access to the branded GLP-1 drugs.
Like Ozempic or Wegovy.
Right. But that access is subject to the widely known and expected to continue supply chain constraints. Everyone's feeling that pinch.
Sure.
But the vulnerability gets significantly deeper when you look at their compounded GLP-1 offerings. These are primarily sourced from a single external supplier.
Wait, hold on. A single supplier for their absolute key growth driver in
Yeah.
this huge, volatile, high-demand market. That feels less like a strategic risk and more like a ticking operational time bomb.
It's definitely a concentration risk they highlight.
Do we know what percentage of their new revenue stream is actually tied up in that single dependency?
They don't break it down publicly by supplier percentage, no. But the source material clearly flags the risk. If that single supplier gets disrupted for any reason, quality issues, FDA action against them, simple capacity problems, HIMS's ability to fill those high-demand weight loss orders could slow down significantly.
Until they get on board new suppliers or maybe ramp up their own internal manufacturing at that new 503B facility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But ramping up internal manufacturing takes time and significant investment. So it's a huge point of external reliance for what's become an internal success story, a real vulnerability.
Okay, finally, let's just briefly touch on the governance structure because that dictates who's actually in control.
Right. The structure is a crucial context here. HIMS uses a dual-class common stock structure.
Pretty common in tech.
It is. In simple terms, it means the shares held by the CEO and co-founder Andrew Dodum carry significantly more voting power per share than the common stock that, general investors hold. This arrangement concentrates voting power very heavily with him.
So effectively, this structure limits the ability of other shareholders to influence key corporate decisions, especially fundamental things like, say, a change in control of the company, no matter how much common stock they might buy up.
That's the mechanism, yes. It ensures the founding vision and direction remain heavily controlled by management, limiting outside influence, for better or worse, depending on your perspective.
Okay. So let's try to wrap this up. What does this all mean? The core narrative we've extracted seems pretty undeniable. HIMS has successfully transitioned from that high-growth, loss-making phase to being a profitable, cash-generating business. You cited $126 million in net income for 2024.
Correct.
And this turnaround was explicitly fueled by getting into innovative high-margin areas like weight loss treatments, and it's sustained by pretty high subscription loyalty.
The transition absolutely proved their model could scale profitably. But as we've discussed, that transformation introduced significant new complexity. They essentially traded one set of risks, the risk of unprofitability, for a new, arguably more complex set. Structural hurdles, heavy regulatory burdens.
And that big one, the inherent instability of relying on a single-source supply chain for their largest growth category right now.
Exactly. Those are the new challenges.
And of course, we always have to include that standard, impartial warning drawn straight from their own filings. Forward-looking statements are never guarantees of future performance, and the market price of their stock is likely to remain subject to volatility as they navigate all these challenges.
Absolutely. The documents lay out both the opportunity and the significant operational constraints very clearly.
So the company's growth now really relies on seamlessly expanding its offerings, moving beyond its original, convenient, low-stigma core like sexual health and dermatology into these incredibly complex, highly regulated areas, like actually manufacturing peptides and potentially running lab services down the line.
It's a much bigger operational lift.
Right. So the ultimate question, maybe for you, the listener, is this. Can HIMS maintain its competitive advantage and that crucial brand trust, the very things that fueled its initial growth, while also successfully navigating the immense and constantly shifting regulatory complexity that comes with being this rapidly growing, vertically integrated healthcare tech provider. That tension, I think, between the speed of growth and the rigor required by regulation, that's what will likely define their performance in the coming years.